This can go very good or bad. Today we're doing our vegan meal prep. It's going to be high protein, great for building muscle. We're going to show you the process that we do every single week to make sure we're prepared for the week and have high protein meals for lunch and dinner for the next 5 days. Let's get it started. So first off, we're doing some rice, but it's not just any ordinary rice. We got to add some spice to our rice. So we have regular basmati white rice. We get this from Costco, so it's a big bag. Buy it in bulk. It's much cheaper if you do that. So some things don't go bad. You want to buy them in bulk. So Costco has some high quality organic rice. We're going to need to add some water to that. But first, we need to give it some spice. Curry powder. A lot of good things in curry powder. We have turmeric, cumin. I forgot what other spices there are. But it's a big blend of different spices. And herbs and spices are a good way to liven up your food a little bit. Add some antioxidants and some additional nutrition. But more importantly, a lot of extra flavor. You know, we need to expand past just salt and pepper. We're just gonna pour some of that in there before we add the water. And yeah, so with this, you can add as much of it as you want and you get extra flavor without adding extra calories. You go to the restaurant, you got sauce on your food, oil, sugar, adding a ton of extra calories. At home, you can cook and add flavor without adding in all these unnecessary calories. We want to save our calories for good, healthy foods. So we're doing black pepper, curry, and a little bit of salt for our rice. We're going to come over here to the sink, but notice how we have two. We have the regular sink. We're not going to put that one in our food. We're going to use the filtered water. Check out under the sink here. We have the reverse osmosis filter. I highly recommend it. That's going to filter your water, get out all the shit that you don't need in your water. So let's get some filtered water in there for our rice. 4 cups of rice. So we're going to need 9 cups of water. Usually it fills up to about that much. And then we go and just drop it on here. It does some magic thing in there and you have rice in like an hour.
There's little magic elves that massage the rice.
They're gnomes, little magic gnomes. They go in there and they go and massage the rice and warm up the water so that it gets tender. So I highly recommend one of the magic gnome rice machines.
So now we're going to start on the tofu, main star of the show in this first meal prep. So we've got rice, we've got tofu, we've got broccoli, carrots, and cabbage. That all goes into our first meal prep. So I'm going to open up these tofus. We have 8 blocks of these. So how we divide this out, I get half of this block or 3/4 of this block. Mitchell gets a whole lot of these blocks in his meal prep. This is the macros on it. So that's 56 grams of protein in this whole block. So one of those goes into his meal. I get about like 30 to 40 grams about in one of my meals. So I'm going to cut one of those open. So yeah, that's something important to note too. If you're not the same size as the person that you are meal prepping with, you're not going to eat the same amount of protein as them. That's not necessary. I will never eat as much protein as Mitchell eats.
You could try.
I could certainly try, but it would not feel good from that.
Your tummy might hurt.
My tummy would definitely hurt from that. How many grams of protein do you eat in a day?
Like 200, 250 maybe on the upper end.
See, I eat more like 120 to 150. We get organic, super firm tofu. The important things out of that are both the organic part. We don't want to get tofu that has a lot of pesticides in it. If you get non-organic tofu, there's going to have a lot of pesticides in it. So we don't want that. That's not going to be good for our long-term health. And then same with getting extra firm tofu. That's what's going to allow us to have more protein in the tofu, is getting the extra firm tofu. So if you get like the softer, mushier tofu, it doesn't have as much protein in it. It has a lot higher ratio of fat compared to the protein. So we do want to make sure we're getting extra firm tofu. That's going to help us build muscle. So I'm going to cut these up and then Mitchell's going to spice them. And then we're going to get these in the oven. This is how we cut it up. It already has like this line down the center. So I'm just going to cut it there. And it has a little spot there to cut a quarter. So that is the size of each of our tofu blocks that we are going to place in the oven in just a second here.
Yeah, you're gonna learn our secret recipe.
Secret.
We have never leaked our secret recipe, but today
Yeah.
we're leaking the secret recipe. So you're gonna need a mixing bowl, and we're gonna add some spices to it to rub onto our tofu. We're doing a dry rub seasoning. Normally we do Cajun seasoning, but it seems like I forgot to get some at the store. Normally we buy it in bulk at the bulk bin. We can improvise. So the cool thing about getting spices and herbs on your food is you can flavor your food in so many different ways. So we're going to use paprika and cayenne pepper because those are the two main ingredients in Cajun seasoning. That's what we normally like to do. So we'll use quite a bit of paprika and a little bit of cayenne because that can get pretty spicy quick. I get this from Costco, organic, no salt seasoning. That's just a big blend of different spices, so we'll add that into the mix as well. I'll also add some salt to that as well. So I'm going to take that, that's our bowl of seasoning. Now mix it all up, get a fork, whisk it around. Honestly, that smells better than the Cajun seasoning that we usually put on there. So we're going to get into one of the very important factors of this meal prep because we need to oil the pan, and a lot of people are using way too much oil. We're going to get more into that later when we do our saute, but we're going to take some extra virgin olive oil. What we want to avoid is seed oils, vegetable oils, canola oil, palm oil, soybean oil, things like that I would just not recommend. Olive oil, coconut oil. If you're not plant-based, maybe stick with something like a butter or something like that. But we want to avoid really highly refined oils, hydrogenated oils. Can't go wrong with olive oil. Tastes way better too. So that's a good way you can upgrade your cooking and upgrade your life. That's going to keep you at a higher vibration. So we're just going to put a little bit of this on. I'm not using oil to flavor the food. I'm literally just using this so my food doesn't stick to this pan. I don't want to get my fats from oil. I want to get my fats from nuts and seeds, avocados. That's especially important if you're eating a plant-based diet, where you're getting your fats from. If you're on a plant-based diet, we need to save our fat allotment for the day for some healthy fats, omega-3 fatty acids. You want to be eating things like walnuts, chia seeds, hemp seeds. We don't want to be consuming an excess amount of oils. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time on the plant-based diet. You're going to be like all these people who try a plant-based diet and fail. They're going to get skinny fat. They're going to consume too many calories before they can get enough protein to build muscle. So we don't want to use an excess amount of oil. There's a very small amount of oil in this whole thing. Our tofu already has a little bit of fat in it, so there's only so much fat we can eat in a meal before we're spilling over and gaining body fat. When we do our vegetable saute, we're going to go over the quantity of oil that you need in your pan. All right, so what we're doing here, we're seasoning the tofu. We need to get our seasoning on every surface of our tofu. We don't want to leave any blank spots. I mean, the inside is going to be blank, but you know, you do what you can. You could marinate your tofu. There's a lot of ways you can make tofu, but texture-wise, we find this is the best way to do it. We find that it creates the most firm tofu. So we're going to bake this in the oven at 400 degrees, about 45 minutes to an hour. Kind of depends on how crispy you want your tofu. Yeah, that's our blend. Normally we do Cajun seasoning on our tofu, but we kind of made a makeshift version of it. So we had some paprika, cayenne pepper, no salt seasoning from Costco, which just has like garlic, onion, and like a million other plant-based ways to flavor your food. It's all healthy stuff in there.
I'm gonna start getting the veggies set up. We got a big cabbage here. We've got some carrots. We get a big bag of these from Costco, usually once a month. And then broccoli, or broccolini technically, is what goes into our first meal prep. So I'm gonna cut all these up. We'll get them in the pan cooking. We'll get those all cooked, and then we got the tofu and rice already being cooked.
That's another thing. Today we've upgraded our Tupperware life. We're going to show you guys the changes we made.
We put away the cabbage for next week. So we only do half a cabbage.
Yeah, if you do the full cabbage, it's kind of a lot of fiber. You're going to get pretty like gassy and shitting a lot if you eat too much cabbage. So we're just doing half the cabbage. I guess that's better than like not getting enough fiber and not cleaning it out, but you know, like, we have to live a normal life. You can't just be like
Shitting all the time.
you can't just be like a fucking grazing cow. So I think that's something like a lot of vegans do. not shitting and they're kind of like a grazing cow. Or at least that's what people think they're supposed to do when they're vegan, is just like munch veggies.
That's kind of what restaurants think. That
Yeah, they
vegans
think we just
do,
wanna-
is they never give us enough protein. At
They
a
just think we just
restaurant.
want to graze on fucking veggies and shit our pants all day, but it's like no, like we want to eat like a reasonable amount of fiber, just like everybody else. But yeah, a lot of people have that misconception that at first they try to eat all these different vegetables and they're getting literally too much fiber, and you're getting symptoms of IBS because you just think that's what you're supposed to do. And you think that's healthy, which is good. It's better than not eating vegetables. But at the same time, it's like a lot of people neglect to get enough protein on their vegan diet. And that's why we like doing what we do today. We show people how to eat a high protein vegan diet, which is going to be much more sustainable. You're going to have more energy. You're going to be able to get more fit, get in better shape. Let's see. All right, my hands are a mess. Let me clean these up.
So you should do about like 5 to 6 carrots in a meal prep. So got these out, gonna wash them. Make sure you guys wash your veggies well. That really helps your meal prep stay a lot better if you wash your veggies well, so that way less bacteria to cultivate in your meal prep for the week. We keep these meal preps for 5 days. We want to make sure there's the least amount of bacteria going into it as possible. I'm gonna go ahead and start scrubbing these down.
Yeah, it's very important just to keep a sanitary kitchen, so keeping your hands clean when you're touching your food. I mean, honestly, you'll get away with it if you're just cooking for the night, but like if you're meal prepping, you'll notice like a big difference if your food is clean when you put it in the Tupperware. By the time you get to day like 3, 4, or even 5, if you're meal prepping that far ahead of time, that food's gonna get kind of stank. Gotta keep it fresh. Oh, I need to put the tofu in the oven. Essential part. So yeah, we're gonna drop that bad boy in there. Yeah, you don't want to eat uncooked tofu. I mean, you could eat tofu uncooked.
I imagine
Technically.
it wouldn't stay as good in your meal prep.
It probably wasn't bad. I used to do that in college.
You used to have uncooked meal prep, uncooked tofu.
Yeah, I would just throw a block of tofu in there. It would work. It would just get kind of boring and bland.
So pro tip for your carrots, if you line all them up like this, and we can kind of cut them all at the same time.
Where'd you learn that one?
Oh, I came up with this method.
No, you didn't. No, I taught her this method. She used to cut one at a time, and it would take forever.
Sometimes it's hard on the thicker part of it.
We need a sharper knife. We need to go to that weird guy with the... There's some weird guy with a truck, and he sharpens knives out of it. I don't know if he's weird. I don't want to say he's weird, but like...
It just appears weird.
It's a strange business model, yeah. Parks on the side of the road and has like a sign in the truck that he lives out of, and he's like, knife sharpening, $5.
So we got carrot, cabbage. I'm gonna mix these together because Mitchell always puts these in the pan at the same time. And then we're gonna go ahead, start washing the broccoli, and then we'll cut that up. So this is broccolini. We tend to prefer this to the broccoli. We just like the taste of it better. I think you get a little better flavor in your meal preps with it. So with the broccolini, I just cut off the very ends of it. It's a little more fibrous there. So sometimes it's too chewy when you have it in the meal prep. So just cut off some of the ends.
That's like too much fiber. Like,
It's like shit your pants.
I don't know if you know, like if you've seen cows, they're just like eating grass and shitting simultaneously. This is what...
Like, I don't think they even know they're shitting. They just like...
It just automatically, it's like... They don't have to like go to a toilet. You don't want to be the grazing cow vegan, so make sure you get like the right amount of fiber.
Mitchell's gonna put that in the pan first, and then he's gonna put the broccoli in. I'm trying to keep that separated.
Yeah, we're gonna go over the sauteing meta in a minute, so stay tuned. The right amount of oil, how to make sure you don't have soggy veggies. Like, yeah, we're gonna give you the meta.
Too. So this is getting us a lot of good antioxidants for the week. This is how we fight cancer, is we make sure we have every color of the rainbow in our meal preps for the week. So just because you have the right macros in your meal prep does not mean it's nutritious, and does not mean that it has good cancer fighting abilities. We want to make sure we have lots of vegetables, lots of fruit in our diet, so that we can fight cancer.
Yeah, so the more color you get in your diet, the better. All right, let's get into our sauteing meta as promised. What you're gonna need is one of 2 types of pans, stainless steel or cast iron. We like stainless steel.
And yes, our pan is dirty.
Yeah, the pan is dirty, we don't give a shit.
We tried to clean it, but you know, we don't have a non-stick pan because we don't want cancer.
It's okay if you're...
We don't want to disrupt our endocrine system.
So if your pan is really easy to clean and it's just shit's just wiping off of it when you're in the sink, then Yeah, that's not good. The no-stick pan has a weird chemical layer. It's just putting chemicals in it. It's fucking causing cancer. It's fucking up your endocrine system. So get rid of the no-stick pan. Stainless steel, cast iron. But it sticks. What do I do? You're not gonna dump a bunch of oil in your pan either. That's not the other option. What you do is you put a nice small amount of oil. So I'm gonna get this heated up a little bit. I'll put it at high at first, then we'll turn it down. We need to get this a little bit warm. We're gonna add a very moderate amount of oil. What is a moderate amount of oil, you may ask? Let's look at the macros of olive oil. This is very important. 120 calories, 14 grams of fat, 0 carbs, 0 protein. Straight fat. And I'm not saying you shouldn't eat fat in your diet. That's in 1 tablespoon of oil. Let's show you what a tablespoon looks like. Because I guarantee when you pour that oil in your pan, it's not 1 tablespoon. It's probably several tablespoons. It could be a dozen tablespoons. I've seen people fry some shit in a lot of oil. You don't need all that. That's keeping you fat. I'm just gonna say it. There's a lot of people that are overdoing it on this, and it's keeping them overweight. They're gaining excess fat. They're cooking things like this. They think they're being healthy, but they're overdoing it with the oil. So let's show you what 1 tablespoon of oil looks like in a pan. So you don't have to be a genius to know what a tablespoon looks like, but we'll show you. Let's see what that looks like when you put it in the pan. It doesn't look like much at first, but when it heats up, so look, I usually don't measure it, I eyeball it, but that's 1 tablespoon, 120 calories. It doesn't even puddle up around the whole pan. But once it heats up, it spreads out, it becomes more viscous, and it should easily coat your whole pan. I just don't want to be getting my fat from oil. I want to be getting my fat from nuts and seeds so I can eat omega-3s in my diet. Those are the good, healthy fatty acids that we need to produce good hormones. That's going to keep your testosterone higher. But if you're overdoing it with the oil, your hormones are going to be a little out of whack. So look, that heated up a little bit. Very easy to spread around the whole pan now that it heated up a little bit. That's plenty. That covers everything. That's more than enough. So the vegetables we're cooking in this tablespoon of oil will cover 10 different meals. 120 calories divided by 10 meals. That's 12 calories from fat per meal. That's adding 1 gram of fat in our meals. That's plenty. We can get our fats from other things now. We can eat the tofu in our meal. That has a little bit of fat. We can add an avocado to it. That's delicious. That's more nutritious than oil. Or that's a handful of nuts and seeds. That's a snack at the end of the day. When people are using a quarter of a cup of oil, that's 4 tablespoons, 4 times this amount, which a lot of people easily do. You're getting 480 calories of fat. The olive oil has a little bit of antioxidants, but it's not like anywhere near as antioxidizing as avocado could be. Or you could be getting protein from eating some nuts. A small amount of protein, we don't want to rely on it. But also a lot of minerals, a lot of different vitamins in those. So we want more nutrient-dense sources of fat. Dropping our veggies in here now. We're starting with the cabbage and the carrots.
So that's some nice ASMR. Do a little toss.
Oh, you guys ready for the
little toss? Toss for the
I'm
YouTube.
doing the toss. You better like the video for the toss. This could go very good or bad. Oh, fuck. That was risky. I tossed it pretty high. Usually I don't toss it that high.
I thought you were gonna catch most of that.
Too bad. Not too bad of a spill.
It's not too bad. He did pretty good. That's maybe like 10 pieces of.
That's right. It's just the cabbage. We don't
want
grazing cow.
Yeah. Okay. Mitchell's gonna go grazing for it right now.
There we go. Don't want to waste my precious cabbage. What are you gonna mix it with? Definitely not a fucking plastic utensil. That fucking hurt. That's wood.
I was wondering.
That's a wooden spoon. I wanted you guys to be able to hear it. We don't want to be mixing our food with a plastic spatula, a plastic spoon. Although that might be convenient and cheap, when you heat up plastic, that's getting into your food, and those microplastics are not very good for your endocrine system. When you heat up the plastics, they leach into your food, they kind of dissolve, and when that gets in your body, it's not good for you.
There's a lot of plastic that you can't avoid in your life, Like a lot of food comes packaged already in plastic, but as much as we can, we're trying to eliminate other plastics from our life, especially when we're adding heat to that plastic. That's going to be extra leaching of, bad chemicals into your body if we're heating up that plastic.
So what I'm doing here is I'm going to stir fry this a little bit. I want the carrots and the cabbage to cook down a little bit, and then we'll add in our broccoli after. We don't want the broccoli to get overcooked. We don't want it to start turning brown. You need to factor in, like, how much do you want each vegetable to get cooked? If something takes longer to cook, do it first. If it's quicker to cook, do it later, so that everything can get cooked evenly. So this first meal is going to be rice, sauteed veggies, so carrots, cabbage, and broccoli, and then the baked tofu. That's our first meal. We'll do that for lunch every single day for the next 5 days. It's just very convenient to have those meals prepared for you throughout the week. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to go to the store. You don't have to go to a restaurant and wait. You don't have to pay more money. It's much more cost effective. So doing this meal prep, it's going to save you time, it's going to save you money, and you're going to be much healthier because you're not going to put an excess amount of oil on. I guarantee you, that guy at the restaurant making 20 bucks an hour, that dude at Chipotle cooking that rice is not measuring out the olive oil, or they don't use olive oil, they're using some sort of seed oil. I know it's not very good. He's not measuring out that oil and caring about your macros. He's just dumping it in. He's like, woke up and like, fuck, I hate my job at Chipotle. Oh, I'm supposed to put fucking seed oils in the rice, pour it in, and fucking leave it there, and then go take a shit and go on his phone for 20 minutes, and then probably not wash his hands and come back out and continue to handle your food. Or you could just make it at home. You don't have to have some guy's fecal matter from Chipotle getting into your food, and it'll have an appropriate amount of oil and quality oil. So, in other words, this is so much better than going to Chipotle. We're going to let that cook down a little bit first. Drop our broccoli in. So that broccoli will cook pretty quick. So I'll just drop it in there and start mixing it in. Yeah, so now we just need to wait for our rice to cook. We got the tofu in the oven. This will need to be stirred intermittently. We'll need to season it as well. Let me go over what we're going to season that with. So I showed you guys this earlier. This is the no salt seasoning from Costco. Organic no salt seasoning. It's got a big variety. Organic onion, garlic, carrot, black pepper, red bell pepper, tomato, granules, orange peel, parsley, bay leaves, thyme, basil, celery, lemon peel, oregano, savory, mustard seed, cumin, marjoram, coriander, cayenne pepper. We can ignore the citric acid. I don't know why they have to ruin it with that. Organic rosemary. That has quite some flavor. But all those different plant-based herbs and spices, that's a good way to add flavor to your food, but also add additional nutrition. There's unique nutritional values to every herb and spice. So we want to flavor our food with that and less sauces. We don't want to do sauce that consists of sugar, salt, and oil for our flavoring. We want to add spices and herbs. Hey, Pooh Bear.
Go ahead and clear out the sink a little bit.
Hello. Oh, it popped. The rice is ready.
Ready to roll.
We're gonna leave that there for a little bit. Let it finish getting massaged by the gnomes. So as you can see, our rice is fully massaged by the gnomes. So shout out to the rice cooker gnomes.
We're gonna have some shiitake mushrooms, some kale, and some chard. So that's gonna go into our second meal prep along with the seitan. So that's our other protein source. First, we're gonna clean those mushrooms. And we've had a couple comments in the past, people telling us not to clean our mushrooms, but we're ignoring that. I don't know why people I don't know why people think that they're not supposed to clean their mushrooms. But I think it has to do with like them absorbing too much water, but we want to get the dirt off of these.
The shiitake mushrooms don't absorb a lot of water. It's like some mushrooms definitely do. I see what they mean, but
These are what we found to stay the best in the meal prep, and maybe that's part of it, is they don't absorb a lot of water, so I think they stay a little better in our meal prep.
What'd they say to do? They said to wipe the mushrooms. Can you imagine wiping every one of these mushrooms in this thing? That would take
maybe
like all day.
That's what fancy chefs do, but we're not fancy chefs, guys. We're just meal preppers, home meal preppers. Just gonna half these shiitake mushrooms. That's usually about the right size to cook down. And then we'll get all the kale and the chard washed up.
So our veggies are almost done. We need to add some seasoning to them now. Like we said before, we're doing the organic no salt seasoning, so it's time to add that on there now that they're fully cooked. We're using a generous amount of this. There's no salt in it, so we can put a lot of that, a lot of good flavor. So I'll mix up the seasoning, make sure everything's evenly distributed amongst the whole pan. We're gonna come to the loading station. Let's talk about the Tupperwares. we got some glass Tupperwares. They do have a plastic lid, but we're not heating up the plastic lid. You can get them with glass lids if you're really particular about it. We don't want plastic containers. You're going to be heating them up in the microwave. That plastic is going to seep into your food. It's going to disrupt your endocrine system, decrease your testosterone. That's not going to be good. We're trying to be healthier from meal prepping. Let's not spoil it with the plastic Tupperwares. So we have more of them now. We found this whole set at Costco. We're not sponsored, but Pyrex, Snapware, that's probably the best one, but they make other ones that are more expensive. These are pretty cost effective, so I fuck with these ones. But we had to buy 2 of these sets because we do a lot of meal prepping. We're cooking 20 different meals today, so that set has enough for us to be able to do our whole meal prep now, all glass Tupperware. So we can finally give these ones the boot. Sorry, guys. I've been really mad at those for a long time. Sorry, I scared the dog. Sorry, we scared Milo with that. Milo, are you okay, babe? He went into his little den. It's okay. Yeah, we just got rid of plastic Tupperwares. It's a good thing. All right.
Really dramatic.
I need to clean up my mess. I hate this shit. This is so bad.
How long have you had those Tupperwares for?
So fucking long. I've had these for like years. I just hate it. I know it's bad for me, but then like.
Yeah, they're probably
like, you know,
they're probably like extra bad because you've had them for so long and they've heated up in the
they're
microwave.
like
so
thin and like flimsy now and shit. So
yeah,
it's time to get rid of the plastic ones. If you guys have plastic Tupperwares, if you have a little extra money, go invest in some glass Tupperware.
Your endocrine system will thank you.
Yeah, so I'm really excited. If you couldn't tell by me kicking, I'm very excited to do away with these.
Once again, we don't want all this fiber in our meal. That's not gonna be good for us. That's the like shit your pants
Honestly,
kind of fiber. So we're gonna throw that out.
Those look pretty good though. Those look colorful. I feel like that'd be good to chew on. That'd be some good stuff to graze.
I'm gonna chop up. This is all of our kale. I'm just gonna chop it up a little more finely, but this is pretty good.
Yeah, it's for our next stir fry, so we'll get to that in a moment. So we have our rice, we have our vegetables. In the oven, we have our tofu baking. We're going to leave that in a little bit longer, make sure it gets kind of crispy on the outside. That's how we like it. We have this old piece of shit measuring cup. It used to have a handle, but it's better than a plastic one. It's stainless steel, so we don't want to be scooping plastic cups and then putting it in our glass Tupperware. That's like, it defeats the purpose. It doesn't have a handle, so sometimes I burn my hands on this. Each one of these meals is going to get a cup, 3/4 of a cup of rice. I do about a cup. Alana's I do a little bit less. But yeah, it gets pretty steamy in here. But that's the curry rice. So see how it's like yellow? It's got a lot of flavor to it. We don't want bland white rice. Ah, fuck, it's hot. It's hot. I need a spoon. It's stuck in there. See, it sticks. And then there's just this cup of molten hot rice.
All right. So what's going in there next, Mitchell?
All right. So we're doing our veggies next. That's our veggie stir fry. So we get the curry rice. We're dropping our carrots, cabbage, and broccoli on there. And then we're going to add our tofu afterwards. So sometimes you go to a restaurant and it's like, this is what they give you. They're like, do you want rice and veggies? Would you like the rustic stir fry and our basmati rice? They make it sound all cool. I'm like, no, I want some fucking protein. It's always disappointing when a restaurant has like literally this as the vegan option. I'm like, that's not a complete meal. I'm sure a lot of you vegans can relate to that. Like if you went to a restaurant with people who aren't vegan, and then like the restaurant claims to have a vegan option, and then they're like, do you want the veggie sandwich? We have vegetables on bread.
Sometimes at least they give you beans, but like
even that, like we wouldn't just do rice, beans, and veggies. That's not gonna cut it.
But like I'll take the beans over no beans,
By the time you get enough beans to get enough protein, you're gonna have so much fiber, you're gonna feel so full. So eating beans is not a sustainable way to get enough protein. When I was first vegan, I was very resistant to eat stuff like tofu. I would maybe eat some tempeh because I thought that was a healthier option. But I fell for the whole don't eat tofu thing. And what happened is it was just hard to build muscle. So I would eat quinoa, garbanzo beans. But I'd have this meal. I remember it was like this giant Tupperware of quinoa, garbanzo beans, nuts and seeds, and it was just so filling. And I would barely get enough protein. By the time I got enough protein, I would be so full of fiber. It was just like, I don't know, it was impossible. So it's really hard to build muscle like that. Like I felt healthy from it, and you should still eat those things. But if you just add in a little bit of tofu, tempeh, seitan into your diet, that's so much less of that you have to eat. And everything is good in moderation. You start eating too much quinoa and garbanzo beans, like that's not good either. So like we showed you earlier, mine are gonna have 4 of these blocks of tofu. Each one of these is 14 grams of tofu. We'll use finger for reference. I have.
You mean 14 grams of protein?
Yeah, 14 grams of protein. I have like normal sized hands for reference. Yeah, so mine are gonna have 4. That means it's gonna have 56 grams of protein, and then we can maybe add in like 5 grams of protein from the rice. So each one of these meals, my meals, have 60 grams of protein. Alana's 50 grams of protein. So that's the final result of this meal. And this is probably one of my favorite of the meals that we meal prep, but the other one is essential as well. We'll get into that one in a moment. Ooh, those are hot tofu. Like hot potato, but tofu.
So that's 10 meal preps there. We're going to let those kind of steam away and cool off a little bit before we put those in the fridge.
So can you imagine this? For the next 5 days, you just know where lunch is coming from. It's right in your fridge. You throw it in your microwave or heat it up in the oven in your Pyrex Tupperware, and you're good to go. Next 5 days. We're going to do the same thing for dinner.
The amount of stress relief that gives me to like have this done is immense. I don't think you guys understand it if you don't meal prep this for this long.
Yeah, you can just focus so much more on your workouts, on your work or your business. Like you don't realize how much time during the day you're having to think, oh, what am I going to eat for lunch? And usually you don't think about it until you're already hungry and already need food, and it's like such a big distraction. When you can take care of that and just focus on everything else, it's just so much easier to get things done. Back to business. We heated up our pan again. I'm going to eyeball it. You guys can see I can just eyeball a tablespoon of oil. We're going to let that heat up, mix around. We're doing shiitake mushrooms, kale, and chard. We're going to start with the mushrooms, and then once those cook down a little bit, we'll add the leafy greens on top. Those don't need nearly as much time to cook, and we don't want to overcook stuff like that. So oil's heated up. We're going to spread it around the pan again. See, it didn't cover the pan at first, but once it got hot, it spread around very easily. I'm just going to make sure that gets on all the edges of the pan. We don't want any sticking.
That's how you guys create a non-stick pan with oil and stainless steel.
All right, we're just going to saute that around a little bit. Let them get a little oily. So let's come over here. We're going to package up our Tupperware. I like to let it cool for a minute first. We put that in 10, 15 minutes ago.
Not steaming anymore now.
Yeah. We don't want to put them in our fridge hot. Yeah, that's 10 meals down. We got 10 more to go. Yeah, so we're going to add the kale and chard in now. So the mushrooms cook down a little bit. So we're going to add our leafy greens in the
smells
mix.
Really good.
Yeah, shiitake mushrooms have some good flavor. Those are some of our favorite types of mushrooms. They can be kind of expensive, but we get them at Costco. Wholesale, you get a big thing, and it's like half the cost. Once that cooks down, we'll probably add like a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm just going to leave that there, let it get warm, let the kale start to shrink. All right, so veggies. They're cooking, so we got the shiitake mushrooms under there. We just got to stir that intermittently. We're going to add some seitan to that. We're also going to do garbanzo beans. Let's get some garbanzo beans out here. Oh, should we give them the boot?
Yeah.
I'm going to start adding rice to these Tupperwares. We're doing rice, seitan, garbanzo beans, and veggies for this one. So yeah, we're just going to add more rice into these Tupperwares. Same rice as before, curry, black pepper.
So we're going to put garbanzo beans in our second meal prep. This goes in with the veggies, with our seitan, with our rice. So because seitan is not a complete protein, we want to make sure we get a legume with it. The nice thing about tofu is that is a complete protein. It has all of our amino acids that we need. Seitan unfortunately does not, so that's why we got to get the rest of our amino acids from our beans. So amino acids, those are our building blocks of our protein. Animal-based proteins in general have all of the amino acid profiles. When we're plant-based, we gotta be a little bit more creative to make sure we are getting all of our amino acids.
I gotta mix her up here. Yeah, we have our shiitake mushrooms and kale here. We recommend the Italian seasoning Upton's seitan crumbles. They also make a chorizo one. So if you aren't familiar with seitan, it's a wheat-based protein. It looks like this in this form, but you can make it in different shapes and sizes. The macros on it are solid. 0.5 grams of fat, 17 grams of protein, 7 grams of carbs. So what this is it crumbles up into little pieces. It reminds me of like ground turkey or something of that nature. Cut that open. It looks like one big chunk right now. A little squeeze, and it crumbles. And we're just gonna add that to the pan. It doesn't need to be cooked, so I could eat it raw. However, I like to cook it in with the veggies. It kind of seasons the veggies because it has Italian seasoning. It's salty. And that gives it plenty of flavor, basically. So we have 5 of those. 68 grams of protein in each one of these. We have 5 of them. That's covering 10 meals between the two of us. A good amount of this. We'll have garbanzo beans and rice. So that's pretty solid plant-based protein option. A lot of seitan in the stores. It has a lot of seed oils in it, so you really want to be careful of the brand. The Upton Seitan crumbles, no oil in it whatsoever. So I highly recommend those if you're looking for a clean, healthy meal prep option that's high protein and plant-based. You can make your own seitan. It's kind of a process where you would get vital wheat gluten flour. That's basically the protein portion of wheat flour. They extract the protein, they refine it so that they take out all the carbohydrate. So this is basically pizza dough, but they took out the carbs, so it's a little more umami texture. So they use it for a lot of different meat replacements. They've been using it for a long time. Monks in ancient China used to use this as an alternative protein source because they were eating a vegan diet. So it's been around for a long time. It's not very common amongst people who aren't vegan, but a lot of vegans know about it. Got one more of these. Unfortunately, it's wrapped in plastic. I wish it wasn't, but I don't know really how else they would preserve it. But that's one benefit if you make your own, much less plastic involved. I mean, I'm sure you have to buy the wheat flour in a plastic bag, but what doesn't come in a plastic bag nowadays? It's quite unfortunate. You could probably find it in a bulk bin at a grocery store and put it in a glass jar if you want to be so optimal.
Well, it probably came into the bulk bin in plastic still.
That's true. So
It was, at one point, it was wrapped in plastic.
you can start your own wheat farm and extract the wheat gluten from the wheat flour on your own. That would be optimal. All right, so I'm going to mix that up with the veggies, and that's just about done. We're just going to let that kind of heat up. Basically, it just turns into this ground protein. Texture-wise, it reminds me of like really lean ground turkey. I used to eat that before I was vegan. Easy to meal prep. This is even easier, as a matter of fact, because you don't have to cook it. You can just eat that plain. You can eat it raw. If you heat it up, it's a little bit better. All right, so unfortunately, we don't really have enough counter space to cook beans. Beans take a long time to cook. We just get canned ones. But if you have enough counter space, you get like a pressure cooker, cook a large batch of beans, and you can season them. We're just doing plain canned garbanzo beans. We're going to wash them and strain them. Give them a little rinse in the sink. That keeps them fresher in the meal prep for a bit longer. I would like more beans in the meal, but it's kind of, when you're doing canned beans, it's like, you only want to be like going through so many cans of beans. And we get these in Costco.
Once again, Costco membership. Highly recommend if you are close to one.
But it's definitely worth checking out and seeing if you can find some of that stuff at a wholesale price, especially if you're going to meal prep or if there's things that you just consume on a regular basis. You'll save a lot of money getting those things in bulk like that. We're going to strain that out. And our, I guess, silicone is like plastic, right?
Yeah, maybe we should get a metal.
Yeah, we need to get a stainless steel one of these.
Yeah, we really should.
At least we're not heating it up, though. So rinse that out. I'm using the sink water, and then sometimes afterwards I like to give it an extra rinse with the reverse osmosis water. Rinse the chlorine off of it. It's not going to be perfect, but, you know, it's the thought that counts.
Hi, Milo. Are you hoping for garbanzo beans?
He really likes garbanzo.
Yeah.
Sit.
You want garbanzo? Garbanzo.
Sit. That's a good boy. Yeah, he likes beans.
Yeah, I love beans. Should give him more. He's being a really good boy.
Ready? Oh, good boy. All right, we're going to evenly distribute our beans throughout our Tupperwares here. So that's going to add a few grams of protein. Like I said earlier, you don't want to rely on beans for your protein. You're going to get a ton of carbohydrates in there and more so fiber by the time you get enough protein to really have any muscle building effect. So beans are good. Not saying you shouldn't do beans, but they shouldn't be your only source of protein in your meal. That's not quite going to cut it for building muscle. That's going to be the finishing touch on the meal. The seitan, shiitake mushrooms, kale, and chard. We're going to add that right on top. It's go distribute that. So the seitan kind of smells like pizza because it's Italian seasoning. So sometimes we heat it up. We heat it up in public. People think we're eating pizza, but it's just the seitan. Evenly distribute that throughout the Tupperwares. My forearm is burning from holding this pan. Not burning like hot, like it's.
Good forearm workout.
You gotta switch hands every time you meal prep.
Really help improve your grip strength.
We started at 6:45. It's about 9 o'clock or 8:53. So this took us about 2 hours. And we have 20 meals made for the whole week. We have lunch, dinner for the next 5 days prepared. All high protein, vegan. So we're set up for the week. Now we can focus on our work. We're all packaged up. We're gonna load up the fridge. Let's show you the fridge. Bring you over there. All right, let's load this bad boy up. So this fridge is gonna be fully stocked. And it's a good feeling, I'll tell you. Here we have it. 20 high protein vegan meals, all prepared for the week. Lunch and dinner is taken care of. We wake up every morning, we make the same breakfast, and then we got that dialed in. So we're locked in for the next 5 days. On the weekends, we'll make the same breakfast. We'll go out to eat and enjoy something different. On the 2 days we have off when we're not working, we have more time. But for the work week, we're all set up. Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Face the other
Face the
way.
camera.
Come.
Sit. Come.
Okay.
Come in here.
Sit.
Sit.
Good boy.
Good boy. Thank you guys for joining us on our meal prep adventure. We'll be back next week on TikTok Live. So make sure to follow us on there. Give this video a like. Subscribe so that you can watch more of our meal prepping and food adventures on here.
See you next time.